Thank you. I've got a bit of a cold, but you pretty much spoke to probably 2 of my slides. So, and I only had 7. So
we didn't know you had slides.
Yeah. Oh yeah, here we go. Anyway, can everybody hear me? Okay. Okay. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to come and spend some time with you. And again, the presentation itself is pretty straightforward, but I think for me, and I was just mentioning to Alec, I actually prefer, the Q&As. I prefer hearing from you, having you ask questions and really be able to speak directly to your questions, your concerns, the things that you as young coaches are really concerned about in our sport or in sport in general. So I'll go through my presentation pretty quickly, and then, like I said, afterwards we can certainly, in the Q&A session, feel free to ask me just about anything you want on sport. I'll talk a little bit about my background, my personal life. I don't know where to stand here because I've got screens on. Is this okay? Okay. A little bit about my personal life, Olympic experience, journey to coaching success, and building of an Olympic athlete, as well as coaching Olympians. I'll just touch on those. I won't go into depth because we'll be here all day. I promise you that. I'm actually not originally from Canada. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. My family migrated to Ottawa back in the early 70s. And to Ottawa, I've lived in Ottawa most of my life. I took a scholarship at Louisiana State University as a long jumper. When I came back from Louisiana, I went back to Ottawa, coached through the Ottawa Lions Track and Field Club, and as mentioned earlier, I worked for Athletics Canada, speed power events, and relay coach. Again, these are the slides I mentioned. But I'll talk a little bit about a couple of the points here in the slide. My first Olympic team obviously was as a long jumper. At the time I had a coach that believed I could actually make the Olympics. I didn't believe I could make the Olympics, but he thought I could, and Craig Taylor, and he pursued me the entire time. He was relentless actually. I don't have the energy that he had going after me with the athletes I work with today. I don't have that level of patience, of energy to go after, but he saw something in me and went after me every single day. In fact, he would come to my house in the mornings to drag me out of bed to come to practice. In 1988, that was pretty much what happened every single day for me to get out to the track. He believed that I could make the Olympics. I didn't think I could. I mean, I went from being a 740 long jumper. The Olympic standard was 8 meters, and I didn't know how I was going to jump 8 meters if I'm jumping 740 and I'm not training. So, but he believed that I could. And again, pressing forward, I made the Olympic team. In fact, came to the Canadian Championships. I'm not sure, Alec, if you were there or not, and I actually won the championships, and with the Olympic standard on the nose. Went on to the Olympics, and of course got my butt kicked pretty good. But that's not the story. The story is just making the Olympics, right? My next Olympics after that was 1992, where we were disqualified in the semifinals, and I've got to tell you, that's one of the games that I thought for sure we could win a medal. We were poised to win a medal, but we didn't because of just faulty batons. Really, of course, being a relay race, it's important that you get the baton around the track, right? So like mentioned, a 5-time Olympian. Bobsleigh, I've got to tell you, was probably the most remarkable thing I've ever done. I didn't think I could even. First of all, I don't like the cold. I can never live here, so I don't like the cold. But I decided, you know what? In terms of being an athlete, being able to kind of expand on your experiences, I think is key, right? So when the opportunity came up to push the 2 and the 4-man bob for Chris Laurie, I said, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And I've got to tell you that probably the first 2 weeks in Calgary, I was terrified. I was terrified actually every single day. I almost think I was also concussed for most of that time because I banged my head on the side of the sled going down the hill every day. You know, and we'd slide twice a day for 2 weeks. But you know what? I persevered and got through it, and we went through the Olympics. We didn't do all that well, but the experience itself, again, led to the fact that, you know, 2 years later when we went to the Olympics in Atlanta, you know, I felt like a complete athlete, a person that could appreciate exactly what I was going through, and winning an Olympic gold medal in Atlanta was the culmination of a career in sport that, you know, I never thought it would happen. Timing, athletes, coaches, everything came together, and we were victorious on that day. It's funny because the guys that I coach now, their number one focus was to try to break our record. I said, well, you can break the record, but you've got to win, right? At the end of the day, you've got to stand on the top, right? But anyway, they did that, obviously. So that experience, the Olympic Games in 1996, it like I said, it was a combination of dreams and focus and goals, but it also showed me and demonstrated to me how difficult sport is in all sports, and athletes who strive for medals, podium, greatness in sport, they have a challenge, and without good coaching, without good leadership, they're not going to get there. Right? For me, the journey to my coaching success, it was this is, and it's funny, I'm glad that Alec is here because I began coaching, I think officially in 2002, but I started much earlier just with athletes of my training group in Louisiana. And in 2001, Alec approached me and asked me if I'd be interested in coaching and whether or not I wanted to be a part of the relay program in Canada. This was his concept. His, you know, the mindset was we can focus on relays and building a relay culture in Canada that can eventually win medals. And you know, I went on to say, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'd love coaching. I love coaching because I thought my life changed because of teachers and coaches. These are the two, like my high school, my public school teachers, and the coaches I've had along the way have made a difference in the person I am today. And so I wanted to have that same impact on athletes that I worked with. So obviously coaching with Athletics Canada now for, well, I had a little sabbatical between 13 and 15. But anyway, I'm sorry. But I've coached at 4 Olympic Games, 7 World Championships, and I apply the same principle in coaching as I did as an athlete. I'm 100% towards excellence, towards winning medals, towards. I don't like the word perfection because again, we can't be perfect, but we can get close to it, and that's what I coach my athletes to be when it comes to trying to get on the podium at the major championships. Here are a few athletes that I've coached. Richard Adubabi actually was my first Olympic athlete. He was a sprinter, 100, 200 meter guy. Shagun McKinday. Actually, Richard was 2004, 2008 Olympian, sprinter, 4x100 meter athlete. Oluwa Shagun McKinday, 2012 and 2016. Farah Jacques is this is down here in picture on your, what are we, on your right. She led off the 4x1 at in Rio, and of course the men's 4x100 meter relay team that ran in Rio. Lessons learned right from the top from Richard. I mean, I had never coached an athlete to the Olympic Games, and but he was an extremely talented and gifted athlete. All of these athletes are. Their focus, their desire for excellence is what has put them on this stage. So these are a few of the athletes that I've worked with. For me, building an Olympic athlete is really about the athlete. It's not necessarily about the coach so much, it's about the athlete and what kind of qualities those athletes in body. Like for me, it's focus and determination. If these athletes are focused on where they want to go, they come in already knowing what they want to achieve. So it's up to the coach to kind of navigate and roadmap that for the athletes themselves. Obviously, being goal oriented. So it could be even, you know, as a next gen athlete, if their focus is to get to the Olympic Games, that's a goal. They're focused on getting there. So how are they going to get there, and how are we as coaches going to navigate their path to get there? Short memory. It's funny. I was going through the presentation, and I mentioned this to a friend of mine, and everyone's like, "Why short memory?" Well, for me, I think an athlete has to have, especially in track and field, in athletics, you have to have a short memory, because if you remember everything that happens in the past, then you cannot get ahead of yourself. And so for me, if you have a bad race, you have to be able to put that to the side and focus on the next one. And in athletics, you're only as good as your last race. It doesn't matter what happens. You know, okay, yeah, well, I ran 10 flat yesterday. Okay, well, what do you run today? And in our sport, that is what it's about. It's about being able to forget what happened. If it's a bad race, forget it. Today's a new day. Let's see what I can do today. Being open to learning, this is probably key, and open to learning and trust in the person that you're working with. And for my group, for athletes that I work with, this is something that I trust, or something that I really plug home to them, because I think it's important that they kind of strip away some of maybe the misconceptions that they have, and focus on just allowing the coach to do his job or her job. Commitment to excellence. I mean, this is, like, I coach at the level of Olympic sports, so we're trying to get on the podium. I mean, I don't know a single athlete that wants to go to the Olympics and is not interested in being on the podium. If you want to go to the Olympics just to get the clothing and experience the cafeteria, experience the city where you're in, and that's really the wrong focus. And I'm probably more on that side of things, where I'm probably more serious about performance than most coaches. Let's have fun. Fun is, yeah, you need to have fun. But we've got business. We're here for a reason, and let's get to that. I think, and again, these are certainly not the only ingredients in success. There's lots more, but these are some of the things that I think are very important for athletes as we try to build excellence, build a culture of excellence in our athletes.